Om Gyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manukpishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svarupa Kadama Yam Dadati Svapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today translation is not provided, but because most of you can understand English nicely without Hindi translation, so we will go on without this translation. And today we will read and analyze few verses from this 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita as it is, which is called devotional service. Devotional service. So today we have verses from 8 to 12, and these verses describe the levels of consciousness, how one can be practicing Krishna consciousness, or at least how one can become to have some connection with devotional practice, and it begins from text 8 and goes till text 12, and after this the last verses of this chapter describe different qualities that are really needful for spiritual life, and if these qualities are there, then one who has these qualities is dear to Lord Krishna, and actually it is our desire and our concern how to become dear to Lord Shri Krishna and his representative. His representative, it means Srila Prabhupada, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and also spiritual master and spiritual masters and Vaishnava society in general. So likely you already read these verses before this session, but anyway we will read it again. Just fix your mind upon me, Krishna says to Arjuna. Upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without a doubt. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act, giving up all results of your work, and try to be self-situated. And the last text, if you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation, and better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action, for by such renunciation one can attain peace of mind. So different qualifications, qualifications or adhikaras are described here, because every time in these verses, Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, he says, you do this, and if you cannot do this, then you do another thing. So basically, it is about what one can do and what one cannot do. It is about adhikar. It is about qualification. It is about level of consciousness. And Krishna's mercy is available for different people whose level of consciousness can be different. But anyway, somehow this yoga, this connection with Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, anyway, it is available. It depends on adhikar. So usually how we practice Krishna consciousness, it is important to understand what our adhikar is. And it is duty of a spiritual master to understand and to see what is the adhikar of his disciple, what can be expected from him. Or if, for example, if he is not a disciple yet, or she is not a disciple yet, if he or she just aspire to accept this spiritual master as spiritual master, then it is a duty and qualification of spiritual master to understand does this person have adhikar to become a disciple, to act, to be, well, not to become a disciple, to be accepted as a disciple, to be accepted as a disciple. So it is the question of adhikar. And how we can understand our adhikar? Of course, we can try ourselves in different activities, in different processes, and just by trying, just by getting this experience, we can see this I can do, that I cannot do. Please switch off your mic. Switch off your mic. Um, this I can do and that I cannot do. It becomes clear. And actually, the whole process of our spiritual life and Krishna consciousness, before initiation, after second initiation, after third initiation, I mean sannyas initiation for those who have it, uh, during all this period of time, during this lifetime or few lifetimes and so on, what we do, we get different experience in our life, and it helps us to understand who we are and what is our adhikar. And of course, the situation with adhikar is changeable. It means that what I cannot do now, doesn't mean that I eternally won't be able to do it. Today I cannot do it, but in future, I can do it in future. Because you see, sometimes there is one impediment in one's mind, in mind of a person who is trying to practice bhakti yoga, or in mind of one who is trying to practice, well, to practice anything. There can be such impediment in one's mind, such idea that I am what I am, and it is not changeable. It is not changeable. No, it is changeable. By Krishna's mercy, it is changeable. We can get some skills. But of course, we also have some limits uh, regarding our ability to develop different skills. And of course, we are always Jiva Tattvas, we are always eternal spiritual souls and parcels of Krishna, and Supreme Lord is only one. There cannot be two or three or four gods. Like for example, one person came to meet His Holiness Gopala Krishna Goswami, and this person, he was Mayavadi or impersonalist. Impersonalist. He told all of us were gods, were Krishnas, and then Maharaj, he told that, okay, if you are Krishna, maybe you can show us um, your how do we call it? Your Vishvarupa. Maybe you can show us your Vishvarupa, your universal form, or maybe you can lift the Govardhan hill. And then this person told, if I cannot lift the Govardhan hill, it doesn't mean that in future I cannot do it. And then Maharaj told, okay, so how long you have to train? How long? What period of time you require in order to be trained to lift Govardhan hill? So you see, even this person, even this Mayavadi, he has an idea that our adhikar is changeable. Of course, he expects from himself too much. He expects to become supreme personality of Godhead. But anyway, adhikar can be changeable, and we start from the point where we are. And the highest level is described in the text number 8, when one is in full Krishna consciousness. It means that he always able to remember Krishna. But this qualification, this adhikar, is quite rare. It means that this particular person was practicing Krishna consciousness, was practicing bhakti yoga in previous lives, and he has got uh, almost has got perfection in this process. Just few percents left, and but anyway, this qualification to always remember Krishna and never forget is there. Now we're going to look what is written in one book which is called Surrender unto me, which is written by Burijana Prabhu, Burijana Dasa. Burijana Dasa. He is Srila Prabhupada's disciple. So here in this book he explains these levels of consciousness, these different adhikaras. The first level, the highest adhikar is to fix one's mind upon Krishna. And in previous verses, it was written that it is quite difficult to fix one's mind on something which is unmanifested, avyakta. It means it is difficult to meditate on impersonal aspect of Supreme Lord. But at the same time, this constant remembrance of Krishna is also exalted consciousness. It is written here. It is exalted consciousness. It is easier to meditate on Krishna, on his name, on his activities, on his qualities, on his nama, guna, rupa, lila, on his pastimes, activities, qualities, and names. It is quite easier than to meditate on avyakta, than to meditate on impersonal feature of Supreme Lord. But anyway, it is also exalted consciousness, and we can see that it is quite difficult, basically impossible, to remember Krishna always, because we have our social duties, we have a lot of things to do in this life. So person can ask the question, what practice should I follow if I'm unable to always remember Krishna? If I'm unable, if I don't have this adhikar, which is quite rare, then Krishna says, then you follow regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, and in this way develop a desire to attain me. So this verse number 9 is exactly about this process of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti means regulated process of Bhakti Yoga, regulated practice of Bhakti Yoga. It means we follow Bhakti Yoga how it is prescribed in Nectar of Devotion and other books, and we do it not because we have this spontaneous desire to serve Krishna, but we just do it out of our faith in sacred scriptures, and we do it out of duty, and we do it out of desire to satisfy spiritual master, and we do it because we understand that if we will be following this, it will be beneficial for us. So basically it is possible to practice Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti if one has intelligence. Because it is the position of intelligence, I understand it is beneficial for me, and I have some conscience before my spiritual master, so I follow. And of course, at initial stages, usually the practitioner doesn't have steady intelligence, steady spiritual intelligence. Usually he is under the influence of his mind and senses, and because of that, this role of senior devotees in our life, role of a spiritual master is very important, because they help us to be fixed in this understanding that it is important, it is beneficial, it should be done, and so on and so on. And just by his presence in our life, spiritual master, he shows us that he reminds us that you are eternal servant of Krishna, you are eternal spiritual soul, you are eternal servitor, servant of Krishna, so you act accordingly. And he sets his own example according to this this understanding. He shows how to do it. And the desire, and the result which is expected from following regulated Bhakti Yoga or Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti is to get a desire to attain Krishna. It means that one doesn't have this qualification which is described in the previous verse number 8. He is not, basically it means he is not interested in Krishna. He is interested in many other things that are are present here in this material world. Many other interests, and because if it is really interesting to remember Krishna, to remember his name, pastimes, activities, and so on, then what the problem? There is no difficulty. Then one meditates, then one remembers. The main idea, the main reason why one is not on this level, which is described in the verse number 8, is that one has a lot of other interests in this life. But by practicing Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, one gets this desire to attain me, this desire that um, I want to come back. I want to go back to Godhead. I want to go back to Galoka Vrindavana. Then this desire becomes manifested. Previously, on initial stages, of course, this desire is always there to some extent, small percentage. Sometimes neophyte devotee he feels himself really inspired to come back to Krishna, back to Galoka, if this pure desire is reflected in his heart from the heart of a pure devotee. Today, one feels this desire, and tomorrow there is no such feeling. And but this regulated practice, this Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, helps one to become fixed in this desire that I need Krishna. Krishna always wants us to come back to his spiritual abode. He is interested in this. He is interested in this much more than we are interested. And we can increase this desire and this interest by following this regulated process, by reading books, by doing devotional service, by worshipping deities, by associating with devotees, by chanting holy names. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then again we can see that it is not that everyone can follow this Vaidhi sadhana bhakti process. It is not that everyone is ready or determined to follow this process or have sufficient faith or determination or whatever. Then again, this question arises: what should I do if I cannot practice Vaidhi sadhana bhakti? Then the next level is described in the verse number 10. Just try to work for me, because by working for me you will come to the perfect stage. And Srila Prabhupada he gives the explanation in the purport here that for example one has money, he can build temple for propagating Krishna consciousness. He can help with publications, like for example, George Harrison. He helped to publish a Krishna book in 70s, I suppose. Because Srila Prabhupada asked him through his disciple, he asked George Harrison, please give us money to publish Krishna book, and he gave money. George Harrison gave money, not immediately, but anyway, he gave this money. Uh, there are various fields of activity, and one should be interested in such activities. If one cannot sacrifice the results of his activities, the same person can still sacrifice some percentage to propagate Krishna consciousness. This voluntarily service to the cause of Krishna consciousness will help one to rise to a higher state of love for God, whereupon one becomes perfect. It is important to say that it is written here in this purport that this service should be done voluntarily. We can find this quote in Nectar of Instruction, that it is recommended to donate 50% of one's income on Krishna consciousness preaching. But at the same time, in the same purport, it is written that it is usually this is done by those who are already um, did some progress in devotional life, in devotional service. So it is not for everyone. It is not, it is not compulsory. It is not compulsory. Again, it is written here that one should try to work for Krishna. One can sacrifice some percentage. This service should be done voluntarily, and it depends on one's level of consciousness, how much one is ready to um, sacrifice voluntarily. It is important to sacrifice voluntarily because we can read from Bhagavad Gita that there are different kinds of donations. Donations, they are in different modes of material nature. There is donation which is done in mode of ignorance and in mode of passion and in mode of goodness. And when, for example, one gives some donation and after this he laments, he uh, he thinks, he regrets, he thinks, why I did it. Why I did it, I had other plans, why I did it. uh, then automatically his donation becomes donation in mode of passion, and it means that he will not get a big benefit from this donation. Just by this fact that he gave something, he could give a little, he could give a huge donation, but when he regrets that why I did it, then the quality of this donation goes down, because donation, it is not only about money, it is not only about material resources that we give, that we donate, that we sacrifice. It is also about consciousness that we have when we do this sacrifice, when we give this donation. And in Bhagavad Gita, we can read that there are different kinds of donations in different modes of material nature. So one can work for Krishna, and we have this life membership system in India. And for example, one cannot follow these regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. One cannot follow Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. One is not so sattvic person. Is not so sattvic person. But anyway, he wants to have some link. He wants to have some connection with this ISKCON, and he wants to do something good. So, and then he enters in this system of life membership, and he gives some contributions, and he has some privileges because of participating in this system. Like, for example, it is promised to him that he will be able to visit different ISKCON temples and have prasadam there and have room to stay and so on and so on. But by the way, I should inform you that this life membership system works mainly in India. If you will go with your life membership certificate, or I don't know what is given, any document that shows that you are in this system. If you will go, for example, to Russia with this document, it will not work because we don't have this system. We don't have this system. So these commitments that you will get a room, you will get prasadam, you will get something, you will get some comforts in ISKCON temples. It depends. It depends on what temple we're speaking about. Even in India, it is not that each and every temple will provide these facilities that are expected. But anyway, it is the way to be associated with this ISKCON, to be part of this movement. For those who cannot cannot practice Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, or for those who are not too much determined to practice Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Then we also have two more verses. If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act, giving up all results of your work, and try to be self-situated. And what is written here? It is written here that, one can be one can do some charity. It is written here. Some charity. In previous, it is written here. Verse number 11. It is about the adhikar or the qualification when one is unable even to sympathize with the activities of Krishna consciousness movement. So it means that he is not so interested. Previously, in the verse number 10, it is explained the level of consciousness is described when one wants to be associated with this ISKCON. Verse number 11 explains the level of consciousness when there is no such interest. Okay, practice mundane charity. Mundane charity. You can donate for construction of dharmashalas, for example, dharmashalas or hospitals or different other social institutions that will help people, those who are, for example, poverty stricken, to help them to live, to how to say, to cover their basic biological needs, biological, to sleep somewhere, to eat something, and so on and so on. And it is recommended by Krishna. It is recommended by Krishna, but basically it is already not about Krishna consciousness. It is about pious life, and and gradually one um, gets this piety, this sukriti, this punya. He or she accumulates this punya, this sukriti more and more, and then finally this moment comes when one becomes interested in spiritual life. And then he goes to the level of the verse number 10, for example, or verse number 9, and so on and so on. So if one cannot be a devotee, if one cannot remain as a Krishna devotee, or at least Krishna's worker, I work for Krishna, then at least it is recommended to remain as a pious person, not to become a sinner, not to become a sinner. And then we have also verse number 12, where cultivation of knowledge and meditation are recommended. And here, Burijan Prabhu explains what kind of knowledge is mentioned here and what kind of meditation is mentioned here. Again, if one cannot do even charity, mundane charity, to construct dharmashalas, to construct hospitals or hospice, and so on and so on, then what is recommended by Krishna? He can try to cultivate the knowledge, and the knowledge, it is written here, what kind of knowledge? Knowledge is called Brahma Jnana. Brahma Jnana, it means knowledge of the soul as a different from the body. So basically, it is not even the knowledge that I am eternal soul and part and parcel of Krishna, and my role and my predestination is to serve Krishna. It is not even about our relationships with Krishna. It is mainly about this fact that we are not these bodies, but we are eternal living beings, and we don't die when material body perishes. This understanding is there. It is knowledge. It is Brahma Jnana. And meditation, which is recommended or suggested here, it is yogic meditation by which one will realize the super soul. Basically, it is the process of Ashtanga Yoga. In Ashtanga Yoga, they meditate on super soul and they try to realize this aspect of absolute truth. At the same time, it can be also understood as a meditation that there is super soul, there is God, and He is in my heart, and He is always with me. To meditate like that. But at the same time, these practices that are described in the verse number 12 are not recommended to devotees. It is written here. Where it is written? Again, it was written somewhere. I have to find it. It was written? Where it was written? Anyway, it was written somewhere here that um, yeah, it is written here. So these processes to cultivate Brahma Jnana or to practice yogic meditation, trying to realize super soul. These processes are called to be undirect processes. Undirect processes. And it is written here. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport. It is to be understood that the undirect process is not recommended for Arjuna, because he is already at the stage of loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord. It is for others who are not at this stage. For them, the gradual process of renunciation, knowledge, meditation, realization of the Super Soul and Brahman should be followed. So again, when Krishna gives this knowledge to Arjuna, he gives this knowledge not only to Arjuna, he gives this knowledge to everyone. He gives this knowledge to all these people who are on Kurukshetra battlefield, and he gives this knowledge for all these people who were reading Bhagavad Gita in past, who are reading Bhagavad Gita now, and who will be reading Bhagavad Gita in the future. So different people with different adhikaras, different qualifications, and because of that, different levels should be mentioned. And now, because we promised that we will be discussing how to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra attentively, yeah, then let's discuss how to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra attentively. It is about the verse number 9. Number 9. To fix one's mind upon Krishna without deviation and following the regulative principles of yoga. It is abhyasa. It is written here in this explanation written by Burijan Prabhu. There is a quote of Bhagavad Gita verse 635. 635. So our approach to devotional service in general and to chanting of the holy names, it is the approach it is considered to be abhyasa. Abhyasa means practice, and practice means that we're not perfect at the beginning, but if we put our endeavors, if we're practicing, and time goes, and years uh, flies, and decades also. One decade, another decade, time goes, and if practice is done in a proper way, then it means that it is the question of time, and it is the question of Krishna's mercy when we will get these fruits of our endeavors. Now we are going to the slides. I want to show you some slides that will help us to understand how to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra attentively. Okay? Attentively. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So these slides are from Japa Meditation School. It is school that is presented in internet. It is a project that was started and inspired by His Holiness Bhakti Vigyana Goswami Maharaj. And there is a chance that from autumn of this year, we will have English version of this Japa Meditation School. So it means that those who will be interested to join will have this opportunity. But it is not for sure. Maybe autumn of this year, maybe next year, let's see. It depends what kind of decision they will take. So we have these slides. This presentation is called Basics of Japa Meditation. And again, the question was how to chant holy names attentively. 4 rules. Rule number 1, wake up early in the morning. It is important because if one wakes up late, It depends when you wake up. It depends. Then it depends on under influence of which combination of modes of material nature you will be during the day. It depends. It really depends. If we wake up, well, Srila Prabhupada wanted all ISKCON devotees to wake up before 4 a.m. There is one letter where he writes that I want everyone to wake up before 4 a.m. Of course, there is some discount for householders, like for example 5 a.m. But at the same time, when we speak about the time when one should wake up, it is not about our agreement with this religious organization, that this religious organization expects me to follow such and such rules. It is mainly about how universe works, because in particular periods of time, particular mode of material nature prevails. Morning hours are mainly about mode of goodness, and daytime is mainly about uh, mode of passion. And mode of ignorance prevails when it is evening or night. It works like this. It is constructed like this by Lord Brahmaji. It is constructed like this. So anyway, this recommendation is given to wake up before 4 a.m. And of course, it depends on the circumstances of one's life. At least one should try to wake up as early as he can. And if there are some impediments, one can pray to Supreme Lord that please help me, please arrange my life in such way that I will be able to wake up early in the morning. Means give me determination and please eliminate obstacles on my path. Then second rule is to be concentrated while chanting, and third rule is to pronounce syllables in distinctive way. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Все, all these words should be pronounced distinctively. Otherwise, and we can see many examples, when devotees, maybe because of laziness or unattentiveness or whatever, they just produce some kind of sound which doesn't sound like Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Really doesn't sound, but they think and they try to convince others that it is Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but it doesn't sound like Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We can use our audio recorders in our mobiles in order to check our japa, how it sounds. Is it japa or it is not japa? Because and it is important to put some endeavors to pronounce holy names distinctively. I will give you one quote where it is written that why it is important. And rule number 4, one has to listen attentively. So the quote goes like this. It is from Srimad Bhagavatam, verse 6 to 49. At the time of death, one is certainly bewildered because his bodily functions are in disorder. At that time, even one who throughout his life has practiced chanting the holy name of the Lord may not be able to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra very distinctly. Nevertheless, such a person receives all the benefits of chanting the holy name while the body is fit. Therefore, why should we not chant the holy name of the Lord loudly and distinctly? Loudly and distinctly. We have this body still is still healthy, at least to some extent. We are not about to die today or tomorrow. We feel ourselves more or less normal. If one does so, it is quite possible that even at the time of death, he will be properly able to chant the holy names of the Lord with love and faith. In conclusion, if one chants the holy name of the Lord constantly, is guaranteed to return home back to Godhead without a doubt. So it is. It is our work that we can and that we should done, that we should do, uh, because body, subtle body and gross body, material body is in a normal condition. So just we can put endeavors. We can put endeavors. It is possible. Then we also have three types of unattentiveness. Again, we were speaking about how to be attentive during chanting of the holy names. The first one is lie or laziness or somnolence, means this tendency to sleep when we chant holy names. These three types of unattentiveness are described in Sri Harinama Chintamani by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So what to do if we have this lie or we have this tendency to sleep on japa? How to overcome it? So we have different ways what to do. First of all, of course, we should sleep enough. We should sleep enough. First of all, let's check, do we sleep enough or not? And Srila Prabhupada in sixth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he writes that 6 hours a day, it is enough for one to recover, to sleep. But at the same time, sometimes one can feel that he needs to sleep a little bit more, maybe during daytime or whatever. Anyway, what is the criteria? How we can understand that we sleep enough? The criteria is that we don't think about sleep. Because if we didn't sleep enough, it means we will be feeling like I have to sleep more. I have to lie down and I have to sleep. It means that this sleep, it reminds about itself. It reminds. If we slept too much, then we will be feeling ourselves under this influence of mode of ignorance, and also will be like regretting, why did I sleep so much? And again, the same situation, this sleep reminds about itself. So to sleep enough means to sleep not too much and not too little. And it means that if one doesn't think about sleep, he just woke up and he do what he is supposed to do. He does what he is supposed to do, and he doesn't think that he slept too much or too little, because he slept exactly how much it was needed to sleep. Uh, and just by experience, one can understand how long he has to sleep during the day. Also, it is recommended not to eat or and also not to overeat before sleeping. Of course, we can take some fruits, little bit of fruits, little bit of milk, but if we take grains, beans, we take a lot of different things before sleeping, then the energy is required to digest it during this period when we sleep. So means the quality of sleep goes down. And because of that, this liar can attack us during japa time. Then we have two options more. It is purification of body and to have a walk. Means if we sit down or if we sleep when we sit down, it is normal to chant holy names and walking at the same time. It is normal. If we know that it will help us not to fall asleep, then it is normal. If we fall asleep even while walking, then go to the point number one, sleep enough. It means really we don't sleep enough. If we fall asleep even while walking, it means we don't sleep enough. Then we have to sleep more. Maybe we have to check, do we sleep enough or not. And purification of body, it means that if one doesn't feel himself sufficiently fresh or feels himself tired, then it means what he can do, he can sprinkle water on his face, or he can take the full bath, he can take it, and it can also help him to get some energy and freshness. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives another type of inattentiveness, describes another type of inattentiveness, which is called vikshepa, or distraction or attraction to other objects. In previous case, when we were speaking about laya, laya means sleepness. On japa it means influence of the mode of ignorance. And here vikshepa, it is influence of mode of passion. Means we chant holy names, but there is a passion in one's mind and he thinks about different objects. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur recommends, well, first of all, Lord Krishna recommends in the verse number 626 of Bhagavad Gita, he recommends to bring mind back under the control of the self when it wanders. It means that when we chant holy names, we should observe our mind, and if this mind becomes attracted to something else, it becomes attracted something different from listening of the sound of holy names, it means we should consciously take it back. We should consciously take our consciousness back to listening of the holy names, and then after few seconds, this mind can go to another object. What we should do, we should take it back again, and it is continuous process, and it is our endeavors in chanting of the holy names. What is the difference between nama paradha and nama bhasa? Nama paradha means offensive chanting of the holy names, and namabhasa means purification, how to say, means chanting of the holy name like purificatory process. What is the difference? The difference is that if I put endeavors, if I try to control my mind, if I try to push it back to listening of the holy names each time when it goes, when it is distracted, when I put these endeavors, then technically speaking, it is not namaparadha anymore. It is not offensive chanting. Because offensive chanting, it means I chant how it goes. I chant how it goes and I just accept the situation. I just accept. I don't put any endeavors. Means there is no attention to holy names. Okay, let it be so. I'm not worried about it. Let it be so. We will be flying in our mind from one object to another object. So this process is recommended, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur recommends. He gave an instruction to his disciples that one should beat 100 times his mind with the shoes in the morning 100 times, and in the evening time one should beat his mind 100 times with a broom. And what does it mean? That one should one should beat his mind with broom or shoes every morning and evening. It doesn't mean that we have to beat ourselves physically. It doesn't mean that we have to beat our heads physically with shoes. It means that we repeat to our mind, whose two functions are uh, sankalpa vikalpa. Sankalpa vikalpa. I accept something and I reject something. Something I like and something I don't like. And we say to this mind 100 times every day, every morning, every evening, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not going to listen to you. And it means to beat one's mind every morning and every evening. Also, Bhaktivinoda Thakur recommends to follow Bhakti Sadachar, Vaishnava etiquette. If one follows Vaishnava etiquette, it influences on his mind very nicely, and one becomes regulated, and good qualities, good Vaishnava qualities develops in his consciousness, and because of that, he becomes more fixed on understanding what Bhakti Yoga is, and then this Vikshepa goes down. Vikshepa goes down by mercy of this of this Vaishnava culture. And also, it is recommended to recite Bhuta Shuddhi before chanting japa. Bhuta Shuddhi is a special prayer that usually used by pujaris Before going on the altar, pujaris they pronounce particular prayer, which one can easily find in these pujari standards, in this uh, pujari standards that are available in each and every ISKCON temple, and it is written there in these prayers in this Bhuta Shuddhi that what is written there? I am eternal spiritual soul. I am part and parcel of Krishna. I forgot about it, and I was under influence of three modes of material nature, and I was tortured by threefold miseries, and I was living in this samsara in Janma Mrityu Jara Vidhi, and now by mercy of Krishna, by mercy of Sri Sri Gaur Nitai, by mercy of spiritual master, now I understand who I am. Now again I remember who I am. So it is not exact quote, but the idea of this prayer is like this. Because if one will not remind himself that he is not this material body, he is spiritual soul who is meant to serve Krishna. If one will not remind himself about it before entering the altar, it means his consciousness won't be, this consciousness will not be proper, will not be fit for this process. When you go to the altar and here you have Archivigraha, you have deities, and these deities are not different from Supreme Personality of Godhead. You deal with Supreme Personality of Godhead directly, and who actually deal with Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one doesn't meditate on these Buddha Shuddhi prayers, then the result is that basically one will be acting on the altar, with understanding that I am this material body, and I am doing all these rituals. I offer all this bhoga, and I do this arati and all these rituals. But who is doing these rituals? Material body is doing. If one will not if one will not remind himself that he is spiritual soul, and everything what we have by mercy of spiritual master, then one will be acting on the altar, but he will be acting out of bodily conception of life and out of his own ego. I am doer. I do all this. It is not by mercy of spiritual master. I'm doing. Mm. So, but this practice to chant, to recite Buddha Shuddhi is nice. It when we not only not only in the case when one doing puja on the altar. This recitation of Buddha Shuddhi is good before chanting japa, because holy names are also non-different from Supreme Personality of Godhead. Also non-different from Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it is nice to remind ourselves that now we're going to deal with Supreme Personality of Godhead in form of sound vibration. Archivigraha is the same Supreme Personality of Godhead in form of uh, visible murti made from stone or metal or wood. But there is a process. According to this process, Supreme Lord manifests through this murti, and this murti actually becomes non-different from Supreme Lord. The same way, these holy names are non-different from Supreme Lord, and but if we won't remind ourselves about our eternal real position by chanting Buddha Shuddhi, then again we will be acting in this process of chanting holy names. We will be acting from the position of I am this mind. Huh? In case of deity worship, one who doesn't recite Buddha Shuddhi, he acting from the position I am this body, who enters in altar. And in case of chanting holy names, one acts from the position I am this mind. And if I am this mind, then of course, if I am this mind, then it is really important to meditate on each and every object by which my mind is attracted when I chant holy names. And then it means one will not even try to bring mind back under control of the self when mind will be distracted, because there is a conception, I am this mind. But we are not these minds, we are spiritual souls. So it is important to recite Bhuta Shuddhi, and this prayer can be found in internet. You can Google it. Bhuta Shuddhi prayer, ISKCON. ISKCON because I suppose there are different Bhuta Shuddhis from different traditions. So we are interested in this Bhuta Shuddhi from Pancharatra Pradipa according to our ISKCON Puja standards. And the third category of inattentiveness is apratipati or audasinia. It means indifference. Indifference. Laya, it is influence of mode of ignorance. I sleep, it is mode of ignorance. Vikshepa means I am thinking about 108 different objects at the same time, it is mode of passion. And apratipati or audasinia, it is indifference. It means that I don't want to sleep, I don't want to be distracted, I just don't have taste for holy names, Durdevam, Dersham, Ihajani, Nanuragah. I don't have this taste. So what should we do to overcome this? We can, Bhaktivinoda Thakur recommends, we can study Namatattva. Means we should take some education on holy names. Different seminars, Nama retreats, and so on and so on, and Japa meditation school that I already mentioned. This education in Namatattva is really important. Philosophical part and some good examples of devotees who are really concerned about how to chant holy names nicely, how to develop our relationships with holy names nicely. It is real thing. It requires endeavors to study these things. Also, Vaishnava celebrations are important. Vaishnava celebrations, to take part in different celebrations like Janmashtami, Gaura Purnima, Nityananda Trayodashi, and so on and so on. And then one becomes emotionally involved in this Vaishnava culture, in this Vaishnava life. And then this holy name becomes more interesting for the practitioner. And one more recommendation is to retire to secluded place and meditate on holy name. It means that, well, sometimes it is recommended, sometimes it is not recommended, because, well, of course, it is much more better to chant holy names when devotees they are together, when there is a group of devotees, and when devotees they inspire each other, when they inspire each other to chant holy names of Krishna, and when all of them they try to be serious and focused on chanting holy names, then I also sit with them and I see that all these devotees they are focused, and I feel shame if I try if I'm not so focused, and I feel okay, I also have to be focused. I also have to put endeavors in this chanting. This recommendation to retire to secluded place, mainly it is about the situation when, well, Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives this recommendation in case of Vikshepa actually, in case of Vikshepa, not in case of Apratipati, in case of Vikshepa, when one is not focused, when mind jumps here and there, then it is recommended to find a place where almost there is no objects on which I can be distracted. And also it is recommended, there is such recommendation, you can take some cloth and you can put it on your head, and then your eyes are closed, and you don't see anything, and if you don't see anything you cannot be distracted by anything, and it helps to chant holy names of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But of course, it depends on individual, because when you have this cloth on your head and when your eyes are covered and you don't see anything, of course you can become concentrated on holy names, but at the same time easily you can just fall asleep, and you will be sleeping 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. It depends on your state of consciousness. If one is under influence, real influence of mode of ignorance, then of course for these people it is not so recommended to put on clothes on the head. Otherwise, he will be just sleeping and snoring. But it is not what is desired. We are not supposed to produce this sound of snoring when we chant japa. When we chant japa, it is supposed that we should pronounce it distinctly pronounce Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much for your kind attention. If you have some questions, please ask your questions.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. On behalf of the devotees who have joined this meeting, I would really like to thank you for delivering this wonderful lecture. It was always, I would say, it's always great to hear Hari Katha from you, and we all are delighted. So now, for the devotees, I would like to tell if you have any questions related to today's sessions, feel free to ask Prabhuji. You can raise your hands so that we can get who wants to ask. I can see no responses.
Okay.
There are no questions from devotees. Well, I can't see any responses, not on the chat box. Okay. Priyanshu
Okay.
Kumar Prabhu wants to ask. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Oh, you speak louder. You speak in the mic.
Prabhuji, you are not so properly audible. Please raise your volume. Yeah.
Prabhuji, in recent time, I have faced some problem in my
Uh-huh.
life,
Uh-huh.
due to which I am not able to focus properly on Krishna consciousness. So, Prabhuji, how can I get rid of the material problem which I get in my life and focus more in Krishna consciousness? Because whenever I practice Krishna consciousness, my mind always indulge into my material problems.
Well, this session is recorded. You can listen again about this part about Vikshepa, about tendency to become distracted. But in general, this question is quite general, because you are asking, I have problems in my life, how I can become free from problems of my life, but we don't know what kind of problems you have. That's the point. And likely this question, what kinds of problems you have, is quite personal. Means it is not for everyone to listen. But anyway, this process of devotional service makes one free from any problems of material life, because ultimately all of us we go back home to Godhead. We go back to Godhead, and if we came back to Krishna, means we have no material problems anymore. And the process is given. This process it is called Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. It is verse 12.9. 12.9. And one of the most important aspects or ingredients of this Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti process is to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So anyway, even if mind becomes mad or distracted, anyway you resist. You resist. you try to chant, you try to be focused, and try to use these recommendations that were given in this presentation. The recording is there. Just go through these points and you can use it.
Ji
I
Prabhuji.
hope Prabhuji you got your answer. Thank you so much for asking the question. Prabhuji, there is a one
Okay,
more question in the chat box. Snehal
okay,
Verma has asked you a question.
uh-huh.
How do we know if we were chanting properly and not doing mistakes?
Mistakes. Well, mistakes, it is the whole seminar. What kind of mistakes there can be? Basically, it is about 10 offenses of the holy names, and the whole seminar can be given on this subject matter. By the way, if you want, we can plan this seminar on 10 offenses of the holy names. And how do we know if we are chanting properly? Well, we have to get knowledge about these 10 offenses. Then we can see by analyzing ourselves, we can see do we commit some offenses or not. It is one aspect, important aspect, because we should analyze what's going on in our spiritual life. And the another aspect is that usually if taste to holy names increases, it means likely we are doing well. Likely we are doing well if taste increases. If taste decreases, well, it can be at least two reasons. One of the reasons is that likely we're doing something wrong and we get the reactions, we get the results of this. And the another reason, it is not the only reason, and another reason is just because we are in material world and there are ups and downs in material world. So it is natural, it is absolutely natural that sometimes we are successful and effective in our life, in spiritual life, and sometimes not so much. And it is also part of life. But at the same time, if one sees that his failure or difficulties in chanting of the holy names are somehow related with his mistakes, then of course these mistakes should be rectified. And this process is very nice. When we chant holy names of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This process purifies us, and one of the aspects of this purification is that we become able to see our mistakes. Mistakes. Previously, we could think that everything is done perfectly, but if we chant holy names and if we purify our consciousness, then, for example, we can understand that I committed such and such mistake in my past, uh, there or here, and so on. And then this vision helps one to understand what should be rectified also. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for answering. I think the devotee
Okay.
who has asked this question might have got your answer. And Prabhuji, there is one more question in the chat box, and
Okay.
that's from Vaibhav Prabhuji. He wants to ask that sometimes that we are more occupied in our work. So what
Uh-huh.
happens that it generally gets for him 11 to 12 when he goes
Yeah.
off to sleep. So in that
Okay.
case, how to balance the sleep cycle? That's what his question is.
Well, His Holiness Bhaktivinoda Goswami Maharaj, when he was giving Ayurveda seminar in 1994, he told, and after this he was telling many times that it is much more better to go to sleep at least before 10 p.m. 10 p.m. because otherwise this subtle body our subtle body doesn't take sufficient rest. Of course, when person is quite young, he cannot feel that he is lacking something, that he is lacking this energy because he is young. He has this energy, but the more one becomes older, the more this sattvic lifestyle is required. If one wants to live long life, or if one wants not to suffer too more with his material body, then this lifestyle should be balanced and should be sattvic and so on and so on. So If because of work one has to go 11 or at midnight, well, what can be done? Uh, First of all, we can pray to Krishna. We can pray to deities or to Srimad Prabhupada that please arrange my life in such and such way that I could have this opportunity, this golden opportunity. This opportunity is really golden opportunity. Those who live in brahmacharya ashramas, they have this golden opportunity to go to bed in proper time and to wake up in proper time. And it helps, even if to speak about health, it helps to have not to have too much health problems. So it is good opportunity. But even in brahmacharya ashramas, this opportunity sometimes really is not it is not really appreciated by ashrama residents. And uh, Everything can be known by comparison. By comparison, there is this lifestyle and there is lifestyle when we are bound by the circumstances of our life and we have to go to bed at 11 or at midnight. And well, how to balance? Anyway, in sixth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it is written that one should not sleep too much or sleep too little. Well, at least it means that one should sleep sufficient time. It means likely it means that this person has to wake up uh, after 4 a.m., not before, after, huh? In order to have these hours of sleep. Yeah, but anyway, we have this subtle body of mind, subtle body of intelligence, and if we go to bed late, 11 midnight, and so on, then well, this tiredness will be accumulated. Tiredness will be accumulated, and one can easily feel it in when after 1 or 2 decades, one can really feel how it influences on his health. So, what I can recommend? You pray. You pray to Supreme Lord and to Srila Prabhupada that please arrange my life in such way that I could live like normal human being. Now, mainly people they live their lifestyle. They are humans, but their lifestyle is not human. Is not human lifestyle. So you can pray that please arrange my life in such way that I could go to bed before 10 p.m. or even earlier, and really, because the quality of life really depends on these simple things. When we go to bed, when we wake up, what kind of food we eat, what books we read, what people we associate, different, because all these things that I mentioned, they are mentioned in 11th canto of Bhagavatam as agents of three modes of material nature. So actually, our life is created by these small and how we can suppose insignificant things, but these things are not insignificant. They are really serious. So this answer I can give.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare
I
Krishna.
hope Prabhuji might have got this answer. And I can get no further questions in the chat box. So I consider that there are no further questions. So last but not the least, thank you so much, all the devotees, and especially for Prabhuji. Thank you so much for this wonderful session and for addressing all the questions put forwarded by the devotees. And at last, I would like to tell that be happy, spread Krishna consciousness, be in the Krishna consciousness, and also be regular in your chanting, and just keep on joining the sessions regularly. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Well, I
Hare
would like
Krishna.
to Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Here I would like to end the meeting. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.